Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the Culture Ultras podcast. It's me, James Allen. It's Fionn. And
Turning the volume up on my phone, sorry.
A very special guest today, the hero of Hethersets, the king of Cromer, the nobleman of Norfolk. It's Norwich City fan George Bone, everybody.
Oh, bless you. What a stunning introduction. I didn't think I'd get a fucking soliloquy out of this.
I've got so many questions that are fizzing. I'm just going to... We'll go quick fire. Number one,
Yep.
Do you own the 92-93 home kit, which is arguably one of the best pieces of cotton or nylon ever produced?
Firstly, I absolutely agree with you. I genuinely don't know why it gets so much slack. I actually love it as a kit. It's genuinely
beautiful.
like either like a B minus, like B plus or A minus kit. Like genuinely, I love it to bits. But sadly, no, I do not have a copy. They do have vintage versions of it in the Norwich City store. But like as of original copies, no, sadly, I don't. This is the earliest T-shirt that I have, and it's the one I'm sporting today.
Very nice. Is that 0405?
It's 0405. The year that we went down on the final day, we got peppered at Fulham 5-0, and West Brom managed to get, I think it was like a win or a draw on the final day to just about keep their heads up. And yeah, dark day, but we rally through it.
Secondly, the year you had every kit yellow and green, why?
I mean, it was just fun. It was just fun, really. I mean, I can't obviously. If I was in more of a position of power, then incredible. But also, there was a year that I think it was 15-16. It was when Yusuf Malumbu came to the team. And
right, sorry, I thought you meant the actual calendar year 15-16.
Oh no. Famously, a year before like all the fires and the plague and everything. But no, it was 2015-16, and Yusuf Malumbu has just joined us. Basically, I've never seen a man more disappointed to wear a kit in my life during promo footage for it. There is genuinely a timeline of Yusuf Malumbu photos from like the home kit. He's looking quite happy. The away kit is like, oh, okay, fair. He's enjoying it. Away kit, he's absolutely miserable. And it was like the horizontal stripes one. It was like green, yellow, and orange, and it looked like a rugby kit that it did like an actual football kit. And yeah, he has a right to be disappointed. That was a fucking train wreck.
You suffering, Malumbu. It's not very good. I've said it anyway.
That's
good.
First pun of the day.
Anyway.
Massive round of applause.
This sounds bizarre as well. Due to the canary yellow, let's call it, and green, do you get a lot of Australian supporters based on colour?
I mean, it was a bit awkward during the Women's World Cup this year because obviously we at home were watching it quite a bit, and obviously England played Australia in the semis, and on game day I wore a Norwich City kit in the morning to get some stuff some drinks and stuff in for the evening kickoff, and I really got some bad looks from people going around the town just to be like, you fucking traitor. But no. Speaking of Australians that support Norwich City, do you know Hugh Jackman supports Norwich?
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, so basically it was either his mum, dad, or both were born in Norfolk, and so he just has that sort of connotation just by sort of his parents living here.
Explains the abnormality with the fingers, anyway.
Exactly, yeah, which is why I've always wanted to see. I wanted Wrexham versus Norwich, at least in an FA Cup tie, to have a Ryan Reynolds versus Hugh Jackman, FA Cup mismatch.
He was at Selhurst Park this weekend, Hugh Jackman.
Was he?
Yeah.
Traitor.
Oh, fair. How dare he?
That's so there.
I assume you're aware of one of our guests that we'd like to get on is I don't know if you're aware of
hero of the craft.
I don't know if you're aware of Nick Muller. Have you been eating your Coleman's mustards?
Oh, for God's sake. Okay, so I think one of the plants was a 5-minute drive away from my nan's house. But no, I know that Coleman's have just become a sponsor of TNC, which is the official YouTube fan page of Norwich City. So it's very weird for a fan page to have more connections to the local area than the actual club does. But no, I've not eaten mustard in fucking ages, genuinely.
I am a big fan of when a team has a sort of like Eddie Stobart for Carlisle,
Yes.
Newcastle Brown Ale, Shipston's,
Yeah.
etc.
To be fair, the sponsor that we got as our main sponsor this year, we got Lotus as our main sponsorship.
Yes, of course.
I tell you what, the sponsorship on the kit looks really clean. So Lotus had to come in very last minute at the start of the 2021-22 season because our last sponsorship that we had, which was a gambling company, they had to pull out only 6 weeks into their deal because their Instagram page had loads of like, let's call it like NSFW stuff on it. And so basically, like Norwich City were like, we're a family-friendly football club. There's no way we're having this. We clearly did not vet who are going to be the shirt sponsors for our team this year. And so Lotus were like, to put it in layman's terms, hey, you want to get the gang back together? And our 2021-22, like, we genuinely have the best kits for when we are the most shit as a team. Like, our kit this year is okay, and the kit last year was absolutely fire. And like the last Premier League kit that we had was genuinely gorgeous. But like, it just so happens that every time that we have a good kit, we play absolutely awfully, and I don't want to see us in it.
I remember that Norwich Prem kit, but the one thing that let it down was the sleeve sponsor, which was like some kind of knockoff Angry Birds, like Best Fiends.
Yes, Best Fiends. Yeah. On the other shoulder was JD Sport, which has become a bit of the kiss of death of Premier League clubs. Yes. So I think Norwich were the first sort of non-big team to have a JD Sport sponsorship. That year they got relegated. Next year was Southampton, which was last year in the Premier League. They also got relegated, and they chose as their sort of small team sponsor this year West Ham, which is slightly bucking the trend because they're doing somewhat well. But I'm gonna.
That's pure Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United. Though
absolutely.
You could have put JD was safe as long as it didn't go for them.
This is the content I live for.
Obscure facts about football clubs.
Yeah.
Where Norwich? Well, I don't know where. Again, I don't know where to begin. Let's start currently. You're 13th, 3 points off playoff places. How would you describe your season so far?
It's been one step forward, two steps back, really. I feel like after 2 bouts of being in the Prem, and to put it bluntly, being absolutely humiliated in both of those seasons, we definitely needed a change of leadership at the top. And obviously Stuart Webber has gone. He guided Huddersfield up as the sporting director, and then he was our sporting director for 5 years. And now he left in November for a guy who, I'm going to be honest, I cannot remember the name off to save the life of me, but he worked for Arsenal at some point in time. And so those are all the good things. We've got a few good, sturdy championship players in, which will secure us for this season. So I have no fear of us going down. That's the good. The bad is that the performances have been absolutely shocking. Like, we've had quality players in positions, but the problem is they're sort of older players who are getting on, and the players in our youth team at the moment haven't really managed to break through because we're buying players either in their prime or as their leadership players. Like, for example, we got Kenny McLean, who was midfielder, now playing centre-back work because we got Ben Gibson out injured, another Burnley legend. We got Jack Stacey at right-back replacing Max Aarons. And who else?
I would have intervened on Ben Gibson slander, but he turned us down. He turned his uncle's club down to go and play for Norwich. So fuck him.
How dare! I'm so sorry for Argain. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it Argain. He's been injured for most of the time that he's been at the club. But no. So, and on deadline day this year, we sold Omobamidele to Nottingham Forest, and at Nottingham Forest, he's not played a single minute of game time. And it's, as someone who really loved like Andrew while he was at the club, like came through the academy, it's been an absolute nightmare to see him on the bench. Todd Campbell sold him in January. Farker and Frank weren't getting the best out of him, so he's gone to Rangers and he's doing absolute bits up there, scoring in the Europa League, and genuinely good on him. I'm so happy. Like Jacob and Josh Murphy, who came up through the Norwich City Academy, won the FA Youth Cup together. They're now doing bits at Newcastle and Cardiff respectively. we've just let so much good talent go. James Tompkinson on loan as well this season. He would have been a really good centre-back to pair up with if he was still healthy Ben Gibson, just as a bit of like youth to inject in that team. But at the moment, the only youth players that we have are Gabi Sara, and we had to buy him in for 15 million from Brazil. And as much of his price tag that we thought he was going to give us, he's just not given us that quality so far. So I want to give players obviously the benefit of the doubt and hope that they gel and things, but at least before Christmas, it's not
George,
going well.
can you hear us? Or is that me?
The absence of Timu Puki as well must be.
Oh, it's the Wi-Fi gone.
Yeah, he moved to Minnesota, and Minnesota are absolutely loving him there. And I'm sad he's doing bits.
Hang on.
But I always follow the Finnish scores whenever they come in. Just about get Minnesota on Apple TV, because I think Apple TV now stream MLS games.
Yeah.
So I just about see like highlights from him and stuff like that. And he seems to be having an absolutely great time. I'm not. That's terrifying.
8 and 10 for Minnesota, which is
that's 0.8 is not a bad return, right?
Yeah.
Especially like he's only done like what, half a season at Minnesota, and he's got like an entire MLS season starting in Feb to get on the ground and get those connections going. So I think Minnesota will be good if they keep him up front and if he keeps fit. But again, it's just all of the guard that got us to the Premier League in 18-19 and 2021. It's just been evaporated really, and it's sort of not necessarily a banter era, but it's just doldrums really.
Yeah, I think unfair. I think there are a couple of teams beforehand. I think unfairly you've kind of been hit with the yo-yo club.
Yeah, we've lost our parachute payments. We didn't go up the year beforehand, and now we're not getting a lot of money. And Delia Smith and Michael Wynne-Jones have now become minority owners in Norwich because of was it Mark Atanazzo or Mark Atasano? I can't remember I call him Mark. He's owned a few big like MLB clubs, and he's now franchising out to Britain to do some football and stuff.
Right.
Only been there for a year. Let's give him some time, but also it's a bit rough at the moment.
Like I find the Championship arguably the most entertaining division in the world. So you like you say, 13, 3 points off. We're still all to play for.
I genuinely don't know how we're 3 points off playoffs. Like
I feel like it's all minutes, but it blows my mind. It's like we've been. I hadn't looked at the table in a couple of weeks, and somebody said to me, "He's like, oh, how far are you off playoffs?" And I've sort of written it off. We've not been that good this season. Looked and we go, hang on, 3 points. Hang on, maybe not.
This is doing good. Yeah, like even when we weren't playing great last season, like the race for playoffs last year was anywhere from like 4th to 12th could get playoffs last year. And I ended up watching the entirety of Millwall versus Blackburn, like on the final day of the season, just to be like, come on, at least one of you. Don't fuck it up. And both of them fucked it up.
Yeah.
I remember the worst away day I've ever been. Not due to Norwich or the place, just the circumstances, of which I will enlighten you with. To Norwich away, under Tony Pulis for Borough. 5 hours there. 10-hour round trip on one of them shitty Arriva trains. You had to get from platform 14 at Piccadilly, which is always a bad start to the day.
Oh, jeez.
I know. Just 5 hours there. We had no shots on target. Norwich had one shot on target, and it went in.
Wow.
So it was one of the worst games of football I've ever seen. 10-hour round trip, about 200 quid, well spent.
I think not necessarily that I can do better, but just worse under circumstances. February 2nd, I was at
date as well. See, I don't see that.
Yeah, February 2nd, 2020. I was studying in Durham, and me and my friend Sarah got tickets to see Newcastle versus Norwich at St James's Park. So obviously, all the fans had come from Norwich to be there. Me and Sarah just got on the train from Durham. It was about 10 minutes. and it was we went to Spoons beforehand. It was all on the news, just being like, "Oh, the head professor of York has got this thing called COVID." I don't think it will become a really big thing at the moment.
Because it'll never be big then. Nah.
Yeah, clearly not. It's just it's a one. He's a one single wonder. It's not going to do much. And then it ends up that like all of the games in January to February have essentially become big super spreader events for COVID. And it was a shit game as well. 0-0. It got us relegated. Honestly, it was absolutely awful.
I've remembered another reason why I should hate Norwich. I do.
Okay.
Well, I sort of do, but I'm going to hide it for the purposes of this. For the purposes of your lovely company, just the playoff final when Borough lost, and we turned up with like 45 minutes to go. 45 minutes before the game. Daniel Ayala slips within 5 minutes.
Former Norwich player Daniel Ayala slips on their Cameron Jerome through.
Conspiracy, and then Nathan Redmond scored, and then the worst bit of it all was the train home from Wembley, and then just hearing like I wasn't in any identifying stuff, but there's some fella like, because obviously it's a packed train from Wembley, some guy with a scarf on, but with a scarf, done. And I just heard this obviously very well-meaning, very sort of middle-class Norfolk fella say, "Oh, don't worry, chap. There's always next year." And I wanted to strangle him
because it's not next year. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Shut up. I feel that.
I'll play devil's advocate here. I nearly became a Norwich City fan.
Oh,
go ahead.
Due to a lack of male attention. brackets parental divorce. I was on. It's not the first time this has come up, and it won't be the last.
James's therapy sessions live.
I feel like I should get a pen and paper out to be like, who hurt you?
I went into sort of you don't really see them anymore, but kind of like it was like a memorabilia shop when I was on holiday with my mum, and I picked up. At this point, I was a sort of a fleeting Liverpool fan, but there was no influence there. It was just sort of whoever was near, and I picked up a badge, and the badge had a canary on it, and my mum said, "That's the wrong bird. You mean this one?" And it was a liver bird. So due to my inability to distinguish a canary from a liver bird, I mean, not my problem, or the RSPBs.
The mythical section of the RSPB.
I do love how we're
dragons.
branching it.
We've got dragons. We've got live.
I do love how we're branching out into like a Marvel What If style world where you picked up the wrong bird, and we suddenly cut to you now in an alternate universe where you're in one of those like bird huts in the middle of the safety area with fucking goggles on.
So I could have become a canary.
Not an ornithologist though.
Not an no. What I am desperate to know about Norwich is.
That was very partridge.
What I'm desperate to know about Norwich is the kind of like what would you expect on like a match day? Because I don't want to lump them into the same group as like Fulham. I think that's a bit unjust. I think there is.
No, sorry, James, to cut you off, but one of the funniest tifos in world football I will ever see. I remember Norwich's one where it was like this big full stand display, and it said just like, most like with as Bojan has told us, "Welcome to hell" on Red Star Belgrade, and Norwich's was Norwich, a fine city.
Yeah,
that's
one. It's literally on like all of our signs as you come into the city, as you drive into the city. That's the sort of unofficial motto.
What would that with film providing me with some evidence there? What would I expect on a typical match day at Carrow Road? Is it a very family friendly vibe?
It is a family friendly vibe. You wouldn't expect a lot of ultras. I'll give you 2 examples. I'll give you 3 examples actually of like competing like different anecdotes and environments. Very family friendly, very everyone welcome, very sort of not necessarily any hassle by any people outside the stands. But when you get in the stands, because of that, they just don't know how to chant, and it becomes very boring and stale. So, for example, I not to slag off my own club, but do better. So there was one year. There was a debate about whether we should have a drummer in the stand, in the Holiday Inn corner of the stadium, in between the away end at the Jarrod, the away end of the Jarrod, in between the Barclay, like a single drummer. And Norwich City were like, "No, we are not going to have a drummer. It distracts people from the game." It's like, no, it's absolutely not. Yeah, literally. Just it's supposed to provide entertainment. Like, and they trialed it at a few pre-season games, which I went to, me and my friend Sarah as well. We went to watch Norwich versus Cambridge because she lives around there, and we won 3-1 in a pre-season friendly before last season. And they decided, you know what, we'll give this drummer a chance. So they put him on a sort of stand. But the problem is, the stand was directly behind where the big rotating LED screen was, which meant that he was drumming, but he actually couldn't see the game himself. He was just on this plinth drumming for drumming's sake. And like all the away fans are just like, you're drumming to absolutely no one. Like no one can see you, no one can hear you. You're in the corner of the stands. Away fans do so much better. Like we have On the Ball City, which we play at the start of every game. And if you go to a Norwich City game, you'll hear a lot of On the Ball City. And at the start, it's a stunning chant because everyone in the stadium, 25,000 people, go along with it. It's great. And then that's the only chant that we sing. At least it's not Chelsea where they just repeat their name 157 times, but it's borderline.
The Liverpool fan, we're guilty of that as well.
And so I went to another pre-season friendly game. It was against Borussia Mönchengladbach just over a decade ago. They came for our final pre-season friendly before the 2012-13 season. There were, I shit you not, 10 away fans there. 10 away fans. And it was about 12,000 who turned up that day. And Mönchengladbach ended up being 2-0 winners. Scoring in like the 5th and like 85th or something like that. Wow. And the guy sitting right next to my dad and my granddad, who also came to the game with me, literally stood up, took off his shirt, revealed a Borussia Mönchengladbach kit, got kicked out the game, and obviously there was like an empty space next to us. And we're like, you have spent so much money to come here for 7 minutes to officially be told to fuck off. And like
a pre-season game as well, it's like what? Like there's no, you could have just.
But honestly, I'm so proud of that guy vicariously because he's clearly taken a trip across the North Sea to see one goal go in and to fuck off out. And he's genuinely produced more of an atmosphere and a reaction from the Norwich City fans than any of the playing that day. So big ups to him. But like, it's very family friendly, but that obviously does have its disadvantages.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember being in the Spoons and like someone complaining about the breakfast. Like you don't complain about the breakfast on match day. You get what you're given,
and you go.
I'm now desperate to seek out a commentary clip of someone. I can imagine this has happened with your stand being called the Holiday Inn stand. Grant Holt puts it, and that's free. He's put them to bed. Robert the Holiday Inn. It's an early checkout for Sunderland. Something like that.
That's incredible commentary.
I wish that happened.
We do have an area of the ground literally just opposite the other side of the Barclay to the Holiday Inn called the Snake Pit, where like all of the quote unquote ultras are. No. That's all I'm gonna say. Just no. Don't bother.
Sorry, go on, Jed.
No, it's okay, Fionn, you go.
No, I was a very brief interjection of just one of my abiding memories of Norwich growing up was the war crime, the international war crime against squad numbers. That was Darren Huckabee 6. Striker number 6, not for me. Although it was one of them the players you never see anymore that could play at centre back and up front. Two very different.
It's like Andy Carroll having at Reading a number 2, and then he's gone to was it Rennes or Nice or whatever, and he's now like 99 on his shirt. It's like, Flipping out. Anyway.
No, the foreign like that, well, obviously can reach a 77. I can let that slide.
Yeah, but if you're a good player and it's a random obscure number, you make it your own. Like 66 Trent, 45 Mario, 77 Kvaratskhelia, like even like 99 Donnarumma. I can like get used to that just because it's the other end of the scale. But if you have a number that's like, okay, you're number 7, you're a pacey winger, you are not a centre back. That is not what you are. Like I think
Gallas 10. Awful.
Yeah, there was someone. I think it was one of the female World Cup players, or like squad number or something like that. One of the pairing of centre backs, and she was a number 9. Which like
it turned us into Joey Bartney.
I absolutely love women's football. I absolutely love it. Literally, most of the scarves that I got around my room are me going to women's football games. Genuinely, absolutely love it. But also, it's a war crime that you have a number 9 as a centre back. An 8 as a centre back, I can just about allow, but number 9, nah.
We did a podcast very early on about the sort of squad number crimes, and a lot of people were very angry with. I think you'll find that number 2 can be a winger. Like,
shut up!
It cannot.
Just okay. Number 2 is technically a right back, and if they're an advanced right back, you can technically be a right winger. I will just about give Reece James the benefit of the doubt of that in the England setup.
Left back number 2 or right back number 3 is also criminal.
That's appalling. That's absolutely dreadful.
We also established in Italy there are no rules, and that's fine.
Oh no! Honestly, Italy are fine. Italy are fine. El Shaarawy is number 2, number 92. Sorry, I'm okay with that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's still number 2 striker or number 9 defender. That's wrong.
It's an abomination.
That's wrong wherever there is injustice in squad.
I must.
Well, here's a good. I will use this time to ramble like I'm doing now, and use a segue for both of you. As George Bow, fantastic new single, Valencia. And we've got 2 Georgians on the wall. And George's number 1.
What a connection! What a connection!
George's Georgie, Mamadashvili, Valencia's goalkeeper. You've both been to the Mestalla. Discuss.
It's great.
Get a bit of. That was the worst plug you'll ever get, George. There you go. But yeah, plug the song, and then we'll talk about Valencia.
Cool, amazing. Yeah. I had a song that came out on the 24th of November. It was called Valencia. It was about my time in Valencia, like in September of 2022. It's one of those sort of like I've just been broken up with and let me travel Europe era. My friend Josh was studying at the European campus in Berkeley for like a few months, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to come over? Flights are £32 return. Do you want to stay in my accommodation?" And I was like, "Fuck yeah, absolutely." No. So he's a big Nottingham Forest fan, and Nottingham Forest played at the Mestalla in a friendly last season, so he knows the ground well. And he's like, "Do you want to come see a game?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, let's go." So we ended up watching Valencia versus Celta Vigo. And Valencia ended up winning 3-0, which was genuinely their best result all season. Sitting down, like just basically pitch side to where both of the second half goals went in was like genuinely such an incredible atmosphere. It was made even better by the fact that there was a guy in front of us streaming the game online because he didn't see a red card that happened right in front of him. So there's a video of me like videoing this guy watching like the highlights of the game that is right in front of him.
It's I'm very. I only did the stadium tour. I'm very jealous. Actually, went to watch a game. That's awesome. Valencia are kind of like my. They're kind of like my Spanish team. Not to be that guy, but that sort of era of Canaries and Villa, David Villa and David Silva. I always used to love them. The stadium itself is in like that stand that's incredibly the main stand, but it's like so steep.
You get vertigo even looking at it.
Yeah. It's very St James's Park-esque, but on a much more
on a much more colourful level. Yeah.
Can you imagine it with St James's Park, that stand without a roof? Fucking hell.
It'll be freezing. It'll be absolutely freezing. But yeah, I ended up going back to Valencia at the start of November to do some promo. And sadly, Valencia had a game as I was flying back. So I was like, oh no, like, what can I do? But then I remembered, like, Levante was also a team in Valencia. So I was like, have they got a game this weekend? I was like, yes, they do against Mirandes. And I got tickets for it. It was... They played a dance remix of Sweet Caroline as I was going into the stadium. The weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. But yeah, 2-2 game, can't complain. Both teams from Valencia, fucking sick. Great atmosphere.
Levante.
Speaking of Canaries, James, very quickly before we go on to Levante. Classic injury. One of those, like, where I missed the World Cup because he dropped a bottle of perfume on his foot. There you go.
Yeah.
And then Casillas took over and he never got his spot back. Yeah.
His son's now playing, I think.
Is
he really?
Yeah, Canaries' son is playing.
Oh, good on him.
I forgot. Levante, of course, former home of Liverpool legend Momo Sissoko.
Yes.
The East Anglia Derby. Sorry, the Anglia Derby. We were podcast.
Don't be racist, James. East. This
Sorry.
East.
The podcast before we were chatting to Bojan, Serbian football journalist, and we were chatting about the Eternal Derby. No, it links in. I like talking about derbies. Okay, I like talking about rivalries. I've just watched a Sky video as well about the most intense moments from the Anglia Derby. It feels like one that part of the UK is such a massive chunk in it. I think it seems weird that the kind of football terms it kind of gets very lost almost.
Yeah. Norwich and Ipswich seem to be like very big catch zones respectively for fans. I think the biggest club outside of there that you get in Norfolk would probably be like Kings Lynn, and they're just about doing okay in is it the 5th or 6th tier? I can't remember which.
Kings Lynn, famous Northern City in the Nations League, National League.
But like, genuinely, like the closest you'll get in that region, like, is probably Kings Lynn or like Ipswich or somewhere like that, or just about Colchester if you're feeling slightly dangerous. It just seems to be like an area of the UK where not a lot of football clubs go on, which makes that any game that we have between us absolutely great. Like, don't get me wrong, there aren't many games between us. It's not like a Arsenal Tottenham where they're going to be in the top leagues vying out for like European spots or something like that. Like, it's mostly just personal glory, but you get to talk about it, you get to shout about it to your mates, and we've not lost in a good 14, 15 years one of those games. So next week I could be very disappointed.
I'm on your side. I'm not keen on Ipswich.
That'll change if Nick Muller ever replies to our.
I'll go toe to toe with Muller, mate.
You've got 100% of the Norwich City fans here on this podcast. You're default Norwich now.
I'd love to go to it. Carrow Road looks like an amazing ground.
It is. To be fair, it is a beautiful stadium.
It's got really nice. You can see it from the away bit. Anyway, you can see into the fine city itself.
Into the sunset, you can see the cathedral on the outside, and especially if there's a really nice sunset, you get that behind the cathedral, and it's absolutely stunning. Some good pictures.
Was your sort of, I wouldn't say golden era, but your sort of key moments of support? Like, was a particular time where you went to quite a lot of games? I assume maybe sort of like 10. Was it sort of like when they first entered the Premier League?
Yeah, so I think 2012-13 was the big season for us. Paul Lambert had just left. We got Chris Hughton at the helm. We brought in some quality players that I still remember, like Johnny Howson, Robert Snodgrass we brought in. Yes. Like Mark...
Johnny Howson's now played more games for Borough than he did Norwich, which seems like... That's like... That
is really weird.
When you see them shit tweets that's like... It's now closer to 2030 than it is to 2000 or whatever.
Yep, I hate those.
That just feels like that's not how time should be
That's not how
working.
time works. Yeah, we had Pilkington on the left, Snodgrass on the right,
Pilkington, like, he was a player.
Grant Holt up front, Bradley Johnson and Johnny Howson holding it down in centre mid, Seb Basong as a centre back partnership.
Yes.
Garrido as left back, Javier Garrido as left back.
Did he play for City for a bit?
He played for Manchester City, went out to, I think, Celta Vigo, then moved to Norwich. Genuinely, John Ruddy or Mark Bunn in goal, what a time to be alive. At Norwich City, we beat Arsenal 1-0. Well, to be fair, not prime, just let Robin Van Persie go. But like Arsene Wenger, Arsenal.
Yeah.
Then a few weeks after that, we beat title winners Man City 1-0 due to an Anthony Pilkington looping header. Honestly, like some of the best memories that I've ever had were made in that season. 2nd of December 2012, a week before my birthday, Norwich City versus Sunderland. 8th minute, Seb Basong scores from a corner. 23rd minute, Anthony Pilkington scores to make it 2-0. I think James Gardner scores from about 40 yards to make it 2-1, but we don't care. I don't fucking see it. I'm in dreamland. Full time goes. We drive back to Essex, hearing One Direction on the radio. Life is good.
Don't be Man U 1-0 as well that season.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Anthony Pilkington looping header. Grant Holt scored against Arsenal that day. To be fair, we then lost the reverse fixtures 4-0, both of them respectively. Shinji Kagawa scored a hat-trick against us at Old Trafford, but we still got those home memories.
As a Liverpool fan,
just have to intervene very quickly, James. You just said Man U, and my Mancunianness is don't I have any allegiance to either Manchester club. I hate them both, but you just said Man U, so please written apology for that, please. United, oh man.
Apologies, United.
There you go.
I forgot what I was going to say now.
Oh, sorry. I had to get that was more important. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I forgot what I was on about. Oh, sorry. That was it. As a Liverpool fan, I must apologise for the Luis Suarez shaped hole in Carrow Road that he.
I'm genuinely, I want nothing to do with that man. I wish that. I only wish 2 people were assimilated from this world. The woman who shouted at me in 2016 at a charity gig for not playing songs that she liked, and Luis Suarez. I think he scored some. It was double-digit goals against us in only 3 seasons, and I'm on top of cheating against Ghana, on top of biting multiple people. No. I don't care how good of a footballer he is. Just ethically, no.
He's no Ricky Van Wolfswinkel.
Oh no, he's no RVW. He's not scoring 2 in 62 and bouncing off to Basel.
And then his record at Sporting though was fucking phenomenal.
It was stunning.
It was like that. It's like he was your Afonso Alves. He was this signing can't go wrong.
We had so many good people joining us this season. Nathan Redmond, Leroy Fair, RVW, as you were talking about beforehand. We had so many good players, and then just nothing happened.
It's the second time he's been mentioned on this pod. But I remember when you signed Johan Elmander, and I thought, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
He ended up being shit.
Yeah.
I remember we also...
Good feet for the big man, though. Cliche of good feet for the big man.
Really good, but also didn't score any goals for us in that time.
Classic Bolton.
One of my favourite ever signings, a guy called Kai Kamara.
Fucking hell,
striker from Sierra Leone, made his mark in the MLS, scored 1 goal against Everton to keep us up, and stayed only for a 3-month loan. But I would marry that man if I had the chance.
He broke my heart, George. He broke my heart. I love Kai Kamara, and then that's one of the funniest. How has this transpired? Events ever. So fucking Kai Kamara, I was in love with him. And then because he retweeted me once.
Really?
When I was so I was like 60. Oh yeah, fucking get it.
Insane.
And then he blamed Middlesbrough Football Club for him contracting malaria on international duty. And then fucked off to Columbus Crew or whatever it was.
That's fucking brilliant.
Man. It's Middlesbrough's fault I've contracted malaria in Liberia. All right, then. Nice one.
Okay, see you later. Piss off. Bye.
Is that the one player that, like, in your memory of supporting Norwich, is he up there, or is there's one person sort of define
there's another middle. Sorry, James, I've done. Go get back to that. One of my again. Sort of slight heartbreak, but not through any fault of his own, just because we didn't play him. Onel Hernandez, Cuba's
yes.
own.
Yeah.
Cuba's own. What a player.
Okay, top three players in my mind: Onel Hernandez, Kai Kamara, and then another one has to be, obviously said before, Robert Snodgrass. Kai Kamara just because he scored one goal and then bounced. Robert Snodgrass because he managed to make the entire Manchester City lineup laugh just before going out, and then Norwich end up slapping Man City 3-2 on the end of the 2013 season. But Onel Hernandez, because he just moved from, I think it was like Bielefeld in Germany, which was then a second tier team. And he moved to Norwich, and the first thing he does out of getting out of the stadium and signing the contracts, making it official, is he goes to the Argos across the road and buys furniture for his flat. And Onel Hernandez, at this point in time, thinks that Argos is the best shop in the world. He genuinely tweets and puts in the club's newsletter, Argos is one of the best things to ever happen to me. I cannot thank Argos more for making me more welcome in the UK. And Argos, because of that, released limited stickers of Onel Hernandez, but they had Onel but in the Argos font. And they were like sold on Argos and in the Norwich City shop as well. What a 2018-19! What a good time to be a Norwich City fan.
He should have signed if he had signed a contract extension. He should have done it with the Argos pen. That'd have been amazing.
What
Argos
the one on the
officially
leaves.
communist.
Yes.
Argos is official communism. That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well, George, this has been. I mean, despite being a Liverpool fan, I really want to, like, especially doing this podcast. Ground hopping is a massive thing, so definitely gonna have to go down to Carrow Road at some point and watch the Canaries. George, where can people find you?
Cool. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, and arranger. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Spotify at George Bone Music.
There we go.
Lovely
And this is rare for me. You can tell I actually appreciate George's music, and it's not just superficiality. Because the lyrics of the not only has he got the voice, he's got the fucking lyrics as well. Brings the soul. He's got the meat and he's got the soul.
There was a moment in the gig where I met you, just on the day that Valencia was out. I don't know whether you remember this, but I was singing one of my like unreleased things, and you were saying like, he was like, I thought you had some pipes on you, but nothing special. And then then you hit a top note, and in your words, like, my head peeked around the corner. I was like, I was suddenly intrigued.
You had my interest.
You had my interest, yeah. But no, yeah, absolutely stunning to be on the pod. Super happy to be here. Looking forward to hearing more from you guys.
You're a very good lad, George. Thank you for coming on, mate.
Thank you so much, guys.
We will see you again.
Find us at The Cultures Pod on Instagram, at The Cultures Pod on Twitter, now called X. If you want to send in any correspondence, any trivia,
and if you call Twitter X, please don't.
Yeah. You can email us at culturespod@gmail.com. This is the podcast.
You can send us a telegraph to 0.134. Message in a bottle, get down the local canal.
In a world of absolutism in football, we're here to talk about the history of the shin pad. If you want to chat to us about anything from heat bonded balls as opposed to ones that are stitch panels, we want to hear from you. Okay, so
can I tell you one of my favourite football facts before closing? It is Norwich City related. So, in the 2021-22 season, 80% of Norwich City's wins resulted in a manager being sacked.
Oh, that's fucking good.
Wow.
80% of Norwich City's wins. So, beat Southampton, Hassan Hüttl was sacked. Beat Burnley, Sean Dyche was sacked. beat Everton, Rafa Benitez was sacked, beat Brentford, Daniel Farke was sacked, and he was on the winning side. There was
that's a great football question.
There was genuinely one team that we beat and we didn't sack them, but I can't remember on here. But it was 80% of Norwich City wins resulted in a manager being sacked.
Did you stay up that year?
No, we went down miserably.
Because what would have been great was if because you obviously beating teams, then the manager sacked it on the table. If it said WLD and then points P 45.
Oh,
there we go.
Sick.
But alas, the world does not work that way. Anyway, thank you
George,
so
it's been great fun, mate. Thank you for coming.
Absolute pleasure.
We'll catch you next week.
Stay on for just a minute at the end, mate. But yeah, say bye-bye.